You know, I sat in the legislature for the budget presentation yesterday, and I think I was in there for 98% of it. I actually didn't hear the increase. I heard a lot of good news. The province has a deficit, and it's difficult when you're in government how to determine how to deal with it.
I'm a little disappointed. Yeah, we would all rather not pay taxes. I suppose the money has to come from somewhere, but it always feels like it would be better if it came from somewhere else.
They said, no, we can't raise it, but now they've gone ahead and done it. And what they're doing with the money, I don't know, but it's not going to the municipalities. So, yeah, it stinks.
You know, we're already either taking money out of our pocket left, right, and center. I don't know if it's necessary again. I think they need to probably cut their own bureaucracy before they start, you know, hiking up the tax on us, the taxpayers.
I would probably have preferred an increase in the income tax for high-income earners, but I'm okay with it.
You're paying taxes on if it's environmental, you're paying taxes, you know, for recycling, you're paying taxes already on top of everything, and then you're paying taxes on those taxes when you go to pay your bill at the end. And it's just not fair.
We're getting gouged to death, and wages don't go up that way, and the fact that they can put a legislation in place that says that we have to be consulted first and then they just pull it after, then what's the point of these legislations?
The money that's going to come in is going to be returned in terms of jobs and employment and improved infrastructure. So, you know, go Manitoba. We do what we have to, and we just pray that things will work out.
So thanks to our student interns, Ryan, and Brian, for those streeter packs. We do not accept interns here unless they are named that. Literally.
Sounds like a Monty Python skit.
Kind of is, right? We had our previous student intern, Ryan, who was here for several months. Now we have two Ryans and a Brian. It's odd and strange. Anyway, they went out and collected those streeters for us to find out what people think about the increase in the PST that was announced in the budget this past week. And so who's excited about the 1% increase in the PST? Yeah.
Well,
hands up.
I guess that last comment said it all. I mean, we have to, if it's the law, it's going to come down.
Well, but it's either we're going to complain about the PST or we're going to keep complaining about the roads, right? There's never any satisfaction. We're never happy. Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk about balancing the budget and how this is, you know, the deficit and everything else. And I just find it funny. Hey, folks, we voted in this NDP majority. What do you think was going to happen?
Yeah, it comes down to political viewpoints, and anybody who's leaning a little further to the left is going to be in favor of taxation. I mean, that's just how we fund programs that are publicly funded as opposed to privately funded programming, and it's a political viewpoint. So. Shouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, they talk about the money going to infrastructure and everything, and you had done a story on the CAA Worst Roads kind of campaign, and at this point anyways, I think number one was Victoria Street in Brandon. Yeah. And just as a guy that travels a lot and goes through Brandon a lot, that street is awful, and apparently it's one of the ones that's going to be worked on right away. And then I think second was like St. James. So at least early on, it seems like that's where the money's going. But with this flood potentially coming up, I mean, you don't know what.
They say it's going to cost the average family an extra $300 a year, $300 or $600. Yeah. Are you fine with that to travel on a smooth Victoria Avenue?
Well, the thing is, I mean, my traveling is going to be reduced next year, which is nice. But I you know what, I'm good with it, because how many of your dollars go into fixing your car after these potholes? I mean, what's your deductible to MPI to get that damage fixed, right? So I think it all kind of washes out eventually and evens out in the wash, as they say.
The money's got to come from somewhere. Yeah. Right?
Talking about this PST increase, it's interesting now because of all these American stores coming up, Marshalls, IKEA, and we're so excited we don't have to go to Fargo now.
IKEA's Swedish.
Oh,
super Swedish. I've had them.
Really?
Yeah, super Swedish. Yeah.
Anyways, it'll be interesting to see what happens to shopping here, because of the fact that the U.S. goods up here we pay a different price than down in the States. When if you go into any of those American stores, there's a U.S. price and a Canadian price. No matter whether our dollar is on par, we're paying more.
The tank of gas that it costs you have to fill up, to go down, fill up when you come back, and that's, let's say it's $100 worth of gas. That's what there's your saving, right? for sure, right? It depends on how much you're shopping.
Well, and
Yeah.
the more gas goes up, the less attractive it is to drive somewhere that far away to get cheap goods, right?
So
Like,
I
yeah.
mean, so yes, you say they cost more here, but you're spending right off the bat. You're putting out $100 or whatever it is to drive down to Grand Forks or Fargo to even just buy those
but not
things.
if you're going with a group of people, right? Like if you're, I mean, I know I'm not one to take off and shop south of the border. Try to shop as locally as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly people like, right, 4 or 5 girls get together, go in a car. Then maybe it's worth it for you. I get what you mean. That it's becoming even more expensive here. Is that actually going to work out for them? However, if they don't do well here, I'm not really going to cry for them. I'm sorry,
One thing that we
Marshall.
haven't really touched on so far is not necessarily the fact that they raised the PST, but how they raised it, which was sort of sneaky. They sort of circumvented what should have been a referendum, which is not super cool. I don't think, personally, I say raise it 2%. That's great. Like, we need to fund our provincial services some way, right? But everything, like there's a lot of stuff that
Youth programming, crime prevention, all these
I mean,
things.
people complain about taxes and taxes being raised all the time, but there are places in Europe where taxes are 50% of your income, and you don't have to pay for any services, right? Like, you're just set. You have like place to live, food. You don't have to.
If you're a Christian, you have to like tithe that stuff.
Well,
so,
exactly.
You
That's
know.
an extra 10%.
Right?
For sure. Yeah, totally.
I find for sure, yeah, we're upset. I don't want to have to pay more PST either. I don't, but this stuff's got to be funded.
Yeah.
It's got to come from somewhere. And I mean, whatever your political leanings, clearly if you're a conservative, you're just going to blame the NDP for mismanaging money.
of course.
So such that we needed this increase. But bottom line is, it's, and of course the PCs are now saying if they get into power next election, they're repealing
abolish
this.
it for at least 2 years before they reinstate it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's the trick, though. A little advice for everybody. If you can just get yourself to be able to fit into children's clothing, then
That's right. Under 16.
Tracy knows.
Is that where you shop, Tracy?
Children's clothing?
In the children's section, no tax.
Well, now that you mention it,
I think you're one of the few people who could fit into the children's clothing. You too. I think you'd both be fine.
But why is it so hard to take the tax money and apply it properly and correctly?
It depends the party that you vote with. So if you're more left-leaning, and the left-leaning parties are going to apply it to different kinds of programming than the right-leaning parties. So that's properly is subjective.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
There is no properly.
There's a lot in need, and there's never going to be enough to go around. So it's always about what decisions. Yeah,
We'll always be short.
I think one good thing about the tax rate or the tax hike is people in Winnipeg and Manitoba to some extent love to complain about stuff, and this is giving us all something to complain about, which
the
is great.
weather's
Like,
starting to get a little better. So
we're not going to have that pretty soon, right? There will be no snow.
You've got to put that angst somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a good thing.
All right. Well, let's complain about additives in food after the break. You're excited?
Sure. Yeah.